Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Triple Double Nation. Today we'll be covering these 5 NBA players are severely underrated. Let's get into the video. Dear undersung, lower key, underappreciated NBA players to be named shortly, this one's for you. Last year's criteria for the league's most underrated contributors will have remained in effect, only this time we're going to 7 rather than 5 candidates deep because I am drunk with power. Non-stars will exclusively populate this exercise. Most are familiar names, but the occasional case will steer us into seldom charted waters. Just to get out in front of complaints from last season, these selections are not meant to imply fan bases don't recognize the value of more understated players on their favorite teams. This collection instead seeks to identify those who don't receive enough fist bumps and gaga eyes on a national scale. Anyone who made the cut last year is automatically deemed ineligible. They may still be underrated in the grand scheme. Shout out Michael Bridges and Royce O'Neal, but variety is taking precedence. Congratulations to all 5 selections from 2019 and 20 on their graduation. Narrowing the scope of this search isn't easy. Ranking the underratedness attitude of the final group is even tougher. Just know this order does not intend to show who's better or more valuable player right now or who will have the best career. These rankings are purely a who needs more love the most meter. Number 5, Juan Toscano Anderson, Golden State Warriors. Juan Toscano Anderson's sub 600 minute sample this season works for both for and against him. Small bursts can be misleading and it doesn't make a ton of sense to stash him in front of a more heavily used player, but his inconsistent court time also does service to his case. Why, pray tell, don't the Golden State Warriors give him more run? Particularly when the league tweaked the rules for players on two-way contracts amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Golden State just looks better when Toscano Anderson is on the floor. His ultra-low usage can be a pain for a team that needs more assured and efficient volume beyond Steph and Curry, but he keeps the rock moving, knocks down 43.8% of his threes, and knows how to navigate the half-court away from the ball. Damian Lee and Jordan Poole are the only Warriors players shooting a higher clip off cuts, and his mark comes on 10 and 11 possession samples, respectively. Grappling with JTA's balanced but minimal offensive role is worth it just to get his defense in the lineup. He's high energy mixed with absurd range, a locked-in Draymond Green is the Warriors and perhaps the league's most versatile defender. Toscano Anderson is next up. His defensive assignment distribution is bonkers. He has spent the most time pestering fours but matched up with every position more than 15% of the time. According to B-Ball Index, among nearly 300 players who have tallied at least 500 minutes this season, only 7 own a better positional versatility rating. OG Anunoby, James Harden, Jeff Green, Dorian Finney-Smith, Derek Jones Jr., Jason Tate, and Jeremy Grant. Versatility doesn't equate to effectiveness, but Toscano Anderson is more than the scope of his matchups. He chases down loose balls at full bore, picks pockets as a helper, and can just generally blow up possessions. Players are shooting 6 of 17 when guarded by him in isolation, and 15 of 38 against him as a pick-and-roll ball handler. The Warriors have an obligation to pursue a playoff bid while Curry remains a top 7 player. They also need to juggle that with player development. Tilting toward one or the other is less than ideal, but shouldn't impact Toscano Anderson. He deserves to be a bigger part of the fold either way. Number 4, Chris Boucher, Toronto Raptors. Circumstances only somewhat within Chris Boucher's control seem to be eclipsing a season that should have been vying for a top 3 spot on the most improved player ballot. Injuries and COVID-19 have ripped through the Toronto Raptors roster, and the team has spent the season playing in Tampa, Florida. Every game is on the road. The uncertainty surrounding Kyle Lowry's future leading to the trade deadline only complicated matters, as does Toronto need for a true 5. It has all amounted to the 5th worst record in the Eastern Conference and a fuzzier than expected big picture outlook. To what extent Boucher deserves blame is in the eye of the beholder. The Raptors pinning for another big is most glaring. He should be part of the solution, yet lineups featuring him and Pascal Siakam up front cannot grab a defensive rebound and are fouling in droves. Toronto is more inclined to let OG Anunoby take a crack guarding centers, but Boucher isn't a pure 5. He's more like a 4 or tweener big, a 4.5 if you will. This isn't news to the Raptors. Aaron Baines' uneven performance and at-large roster construction are bigger contributors to Toronto's front line issues. Viewed through the lens of what Boucher actually is, his season goes down as a big-time victory. He's averaging 13.6 points and 1.9 blocks per game while canning 41.4% of his threes, and aren't floor-spacing Shaw Waters on the frontline dream. Variance and Boucher's performances strips away some of his sheen. The slightest gust of wind can cause him to leave his feet, and his moderate 3-point volume has him traveling a feast or famine arc. And during these swings, as part of Chris Boucher's experience, they're largely worth it. He is mission critical to the Raptors' floor spacing. Their 3-point clip drops by a now team-high 4.2 points without him on the floor, and his blocks aren't empty. He leads the team in shots contested at the rim, and the 59.7 success rate he allows ranks second only to Utah Watanabe. It would be nice if Boucher showed more restraint at times on defense. Then again, full tilt closeouts are part of his charm. He has blocked more 3-pointers than anyone else in the league according to PvP stats. Just like his 3-point shooting and improving rim runs, his hyper aggression serves a purpose. Number 3, Terry Rozier, Charlotte Hornets. Terry Rozier became an oft-used punchline after getting a 3-year, $56.7 million contract from the Charlotte Hornets as part of the sign-and-trade deal that landed Kemba Walker with the Boston Celtics. Nearly 2 seasons later, he is tight-roping an awfully impressive line, at once living up to his pay grade while not receiving nearly enough acclaim for his body of work. Just 3 other players are clearing 20 points per game and matching Rozier's efficiency on 2s and 3s, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokic, and Zach LaVine. That is starry-eyed company to go along with mind-melting splits. Rozier isn't merely capitalizing on accessory status either. Over 60% of his made buckets are coming off assists, but he's established himself as an operable off-the-dribble threat. His 53 effective field goal percentage on pull-up jumpers ranks 10th out of 60 players, attempting at least 5 such shots per game, and he's second on the Hornets in points scored per possession as a pick-and-roll ball handler. Lineups featuring Rozier without LaMelo Ball or Gordon Hayward are faring quite nicely. That's a nod to Malik Monk's performance this season, but remains a testament to Rozier's growth as a shot maker, and his dependability has so far carried over to when it matters most. Nobody on the Hornets has made more crunch time buckets, and he's drilled 52.2% of his threes down the stretch of tight games. Only 2 other players who have made at least 10 clutch appearances have a usage rate above 27 and true shooting percentage of north of 70, Kevin Durant and Damian Lillard. Number 2, Dario Saric, Phoenix Suns. Limited availability has driven Dario Saric beneath radar. He spent time in the league's health and safety protocols and then sprained each of his ankles. As the Ringers' Kevin O'Connor and fine folks over at the Timeline podcast have noted, Saric would be jockeying with Jordan Clarkson for 6th Man of the Year consideration if not for early season bad luck, but he is not here strictly because there hasn't been enough time to appreciate the role he's playing. It's more that people don't seem to adequately recognize the role he's assuming in the first place. Aside from the stray stints he's seen alongside DeAndre Ayton, Saric is now exclusively a center, and it looks good on him. The Phoenix Suns are a plus 16.4 points per 100 possessions during the time he sponges up as the official center. Pummeling opposing second units is not an end-all, and Saric has done a lot of that. Number 1, Kyle Anderson, Memphis Grizzlies. Kyle Anderson plays at a cadence all of his own, and while his game unfurls in slow motion, he doesn't give defenders much time to think. He pumps fakes and barrels, disarm and dishes. Defenses aren't always equipped to handle his dexterity. He can handle and pass the ball with either hand. His on-ball body mechanics don't make sense. He looks like he's jerking in 8 different directions when probing downhill, like an inflatable tube man billowing in the wind outside a car dealership. This quirkiness works. Anderson draws shooting fouls more often than someone who doesn't put immense pressure on the rim typically would. His in-between game remains money. He's downing a career-high 51% of his mid-range jumpers and a good, not great 47.1% of his floaters. Adding a 3 to his arsenal has made him a tough recover. He has nearly tripled his volume from beyond the arc compared to last season and is swishing 36.8% of his trays. He still isn't going to find nylon on off the dribble bombs, but he's more likely to make defenses pay for leaving him unattended. This brings us to the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our videos in the future. With that, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.